Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Running. Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, and a very complete show for you today. And by the way, for the information that you guys had asked me for, I went ahead and hunted down the videos on the judges and minority control of the United States via the Supreme Court, as well as the video on price and power. So I'll definitely get to the judges video if it seems like we have enough time. I will also do the video on price and power. I actually prefer the video on price and power. It's a bit longer, but what happens is that video kind of shows exactly how the system is used to really take away the wherewithal of the American people. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't generally get, but we will talk about that and a lot of other things that we have to get busy with. Anyhow, title of the show today. What is the title of the show today? Let me go ahead and bring that up and put it on the screen. Title of the show today is Lizz Winstead, the Daily Show creator, speaks on election 2020. Scaramucci, Trump loses big, and more. Daily Show co-creator Lizz Winstead discusses election 2020 and AAF event and about a big AAA event that she wants to get out there and make sure that people are aware of it as they stand in the lines and all of that. Scaramucci gives his thoughts on the impending Trump loss and more. What are the topics that we're covering? The first video is going to be about Biden's stump speech hits most of the points to get him way over the top as he effectively scorches Trump. Anthony Scaramucci says that Trump will lose. Unlike most, he believes Trump will be gracious and leave without drama, and you'll see why he believes that's the case. We revisit the video our members asked for on Republicans using judges to maintain minority rule. And Lizz Winstead discusses election 2020 and a major event, I must be dyslexic. A major virtual event her organization, Abortion Action Front, is having throughout the election day. Vote No Joke is a virtual event featuring amazing stand-ups like Jerry Yang, Judy Gold, and Baron Vaughn, where for 12 hours straight, they will entertain voters as they wait out the long lines at the polls through comedy on November 3rd. I thought I had a link attached to that. Apparently, when I did the link, something happened and it went away. I'll fix that. And she's going to get her own blog where I describe the event as well. So I'll do that after the show. After the show and after I ride my bike. Today, after the show, I'm going on a very, 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 very look to find. Oh, wait a minute. New Facebook GUI. Yeah. Facebook has a new GUI. I've been using it for a while. It takes some getting used to. Anyhow, folks, so let's go ahead and get started with El Señor Biden. I want you to listen to what Biden is talking about. But beforehand, let me just tell people hello. Bruce Pollard, hello. Vote now and in person. You know what, Bruce, I'm glad you said that because that is how I wanted to start the show. And since I was doing a whole lot of stuff, I didn't. Folks, today is the last day to early vote in Harris County in Texas. So please, it ends at 7. If you are in line, they must allow you to vote. So please, everybody that wants to vote early, and if you can, you should, so you can find out if there are any problems. Please go vote today. Please get others to vote today. If you have already voted, volunteer to take somebody to vote with you. If you are likewise, please consider give your phone to someone and say, hey, even if the lines are long, I will be there for you. If you need to go for a bathroom break, I will stand up in your place until you get back. Let's help each other. If somebody calls me today and tells me, Egberto, after the show that is, and I ride my bike, Egberto, after the show, I want you to come and I need to get a bathroom break. I'll go over there and stand in line for them until they get back from their bathroom break or their snack break or whatever. Folks, this election is existential, and we don't just want a win. We want a blowout. We want a repudiation of Trumpism, and we want a mandate. A mandate that will ensure that we can make the changes the middle class in this country needs. So please, I implore you, I beg you, everything that is beg, implore, ask, all of that, I'm asking you to please go out there and let's do our civic duty and go out there and vote. Vote and vote and help others to vote. All right. Here is the interesting thing. I just want to show you what happens when you listen to the wrong news media, right? All early indicators are looking great for Trump. Leftists should stock up on tissues. Those are the indicators, right? Everybody, the polls are available to everybody, including the Fox News polls. Take a look at them and take a look at who has already voted and take a look at the ground game that's being put on not only by the Democratic Party, but by all the other groups. Take a look at what Donald Trump is saying after he tells his people he's going to win. Of course, you know, he's a liar in chief. He lies more than anybody else. The idea that they have a lot of people out there saying, oh, get ready for your tears, is to try to scare you into believing that it's not going to go well. Let me tell you, my brothers and sisters, let me tell you, we are going to win big. You need to keep going out there and vote. And on election day, you wear your mask and go out there and vote. You are going to be a part of one of the biggest landslides in a long time. But to make that a reality, you have to be out there. A lot of people, like, brother, don't say landslide, you're going to stop people from voting. If you don't vote and you stop what is supposed to be, it's on you. I am continuing to say a landslide because what Americans feel right now dictates that they want a landslide. Now, if they don't do the job to accomplish that, it's not me saying it's I should have very little impact on an election as far as whether you decide you want to go or not. What I can do is implore on you the importance of going to vote. So please go to vote. Let's guarantee this landslide. Let's guarantee this landslide because we're going to win big and we're going to make the changes that needs to be made so that never again in this country we can have 10 years of minority rule. 12 years of minority. Well, actually, it's 10 because the first 2 years we didn't. The first 2 years of Obama we did. But ever since, it has been minority rule, meaning minority creating problems for everything because they care nothing about people. They just care about their wealthy benefactors. Okay, listen to Brother Biden. I think he's very good and he's getting very good in really isolating the facts about Trump and making it clear in the right kind of language. And I think this one is going to sit well. Now, I didn't get to the entire speech where he actually tackled things like police brutality and all that good stuff, but this is good enough for what I want to display so far. So check this out.
Donald Trump refuses to listen to science. He politicizes the race for a vaccine instead of planning for its safe and equitable and free distribution. He refuses to provide schools and small businesses the resources and national standards where they can open safely and stay open. But I'm going to bring together Republicans and Democrats to deliver economic relief to working families and schools and businesses. The Congress has already passed this legislation. It's sitting there. But he refused. He spent all his time this summer in his golf course bunkers or down in the White House bunkers. Think about it. I've been around for a while. I'll bet even Senator Grassley would have to acknowledge that I don't ever remember any president in a crisis where there's a disagreement in the House and the Senate between Democrats and Republicans, didn't even try to bring them together to deal with this. The House back in May passed the HEROES Act, which would allow businesses and schools to open safely because it costs money. You need sanitation. You need ventilation. You need masking. You need distancing. You need separators. It all costs money. But instead, 1 in 6 businesses is now out of business because he won't act. I've said before, I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm going to shut down the virus. Even before the virus, Donald Trump had already blown it. He inherited a strong economy from Barack and me. But like everything else he inherited, he squandered it. He squandered it, frankly. I've dealt with guys like Trump my whole life. So have you. Guys who think because they have a lot more money that they're better than you. Look down on you. I know, I acknowledge I got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Coming from an Irish Catholic neighborhood where it wasn't viewed as that being such a great thing. When I read something about how if I'm elected president, I'm going to be the first non-Ivy League person to occupy the White House in a long time. Well, guess what? Like somehow I didn't belong if I didn't go to the Ivy League. Look, I'll say it about time. It's about time that a guy or woman graduate from a state university is able to sit in the Oval Office. Because if I'm sitting there, you will be too.
If I am sitting there, you will be too. He hit all those necessary numbers. He hit all those necessary things that people like to hear. And that is what was so good, so good, so good, so good. Anyhow, let's go ahead now and listen to Anthony Scaramucci. For those people who sit down there and think that on the inside somehow there's some other magic widget that Donald Trump is going to come up with to win. I mean, people are already making exit strategies. Here's Scaramucci on how he thinks Trump is going to get out of there.
Donald Trump refuses to listen to science.
I feel like every once in a while the rallies are where he puts himself on the couch, and you do hear him muse, and some of these asides I think are real thoughts here. But the fact that he's talking about it is, I think, well, you know him well. I feel like it's his way as he's figuring out how to work through all of this.
And listen, the guy always channels. He's always giving you a tell. The tell is you're not going to hear from him again. The tell is he may disappear for a while. When he thought he was losing last time, he was getting ready to go to Scotland to play at his golf course. And so we'll have to see what he does, but he's going to lose. I mean, if you just look at the magnitude of the data, I say that as a capital manager and not somebody that's biased. I'm just looking at the data. 25 million additional voters coming into this. It's a staggering number. And you know how registration works in the country. The minority registrants are the Republicans. There's more independents than Democrats. And the Democrats know that they're dragging independents with them. And so he's going to lose. He knows he's going to lose. And I think he's just trying to figure out if there's one Hail Mary strike on that map that he's looking at. But it's just a very different race from 2016, which is why he's doing that self-therapy at those rallies.
Look, he's, for what it's worth, he's in the right region to try to find his Hail Mary. Let me ask you this, Anthony. How will he handle this in public if he is the losing presidential candidate? You think he's going to invite Joe Biden to the White House? You think we're going to see the two a President-elect Biden and a President Trump sit next to each other on the big yellow chairs there?
Yes, I absolutely 100% think that. I know I'm the contrarian on this, but just remember something about the president. When he does a news search, he's searching TRUMP. He's not searching USA. He's definitely not searching YOU. He could care less about YOU. And so that is 100% in his best interest to do that, because he's got investigations going on in New York City, possible investigation at SDNY, and he's going to need the vice president's help as president-elect. And so I predict all of that smoke and bluster about not accepting a peaceful transfer and all that stuff's going to go by the wayside. He'll be remarkably conciliatory and out of character, Chuck, because it's in his self-interest to do so. He's going to need to cut a deal with the Biden administration at some point in the next 2 years.
Yes, because he's going to jail, so he's going to have to hope for some sort of a presidential something. You know, not a pardon, but maybe, hey, Biden, could you have them go easy on me since I'm going to leave it? I'm not going to activate my radical white supremacist. Could you please go ahead and help me out here? Please, 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 please. I'm kidding. I just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Anyhow, folks, so it turns out that yesterday I was explaining how Republicans understand that they are a permanent minority under their current construct. And as such, the only way they can rule is all the shenanigans given to them by the Constitution, which, to put it bluntly, has many aberrations in it that allow for the powerful to rule. It was done by design. You know, everybody always talk about the wonders of the Constitution, and what not realizing what we were watching over the decades were the wonders of good human beings. People who were, for the most part, good in spite of what the Constitution allowed them to do. But the Constitution has always allowed some crazy things for the powerful to do, and Donald Trump was just the one that had the pelotas to consider exercising them. Things like when it gets to the House, instead of it being a population per person based vote for who would be selected president, if we can't figure it out, it's by state, which means since a lot of small states are more represented than big. I mean, the Constitution is not a democratic document. It's not a representative democratic document either. They say, oh, republic. A republic is a representative democracy, a democratic republic. It's not representative. If Idaho has 2 senators and California has 2 senators, it is definitely not representative, because what you have is the people in Idaho have a lot more power than the persons in California. So this is what I was talking to you guys about when you asked me to find the video. This is a video that I did, and let me go ahead and present it to you, and then we'll take it on the other side. That piece that I played on the Constitution. When we talk about the merits of the Constitution, what I wanted to do with that argument about the Constitution and what Trump via McConnell is doing with the Supreme Court, with the district courts, with the circuit courts, is to explain something important to you. It's not enough for us to go out there and just say we want to win the presidency or we want to win this Congress seat or anything. We have to change the mold of the country, the psyche of the country, because there's so much that they know that most people don't. Like when McConnell is playing with the Supreme Court and playing with the district court and playing with the circuit court, a lot of people sit back and they don't think it has much impact on them. We are trying to establish a more perfect union. We are trying to establish a system that works for everybody, which means we no longer allow a plutocracy to take it all. But you know what? The American population is wising up, but they're already preparing for a wise population, and they're using the Constitution to prepare for that wise population. How so? Everybody who studied their government classes understand there's a judiciary, a legislative, and a executive. The legislative makes the laws, the executive executes the laws, and the judiciary interprets the law's constitutionality. Well, if we are going to win all these new elections and we are going to win the presidency, the only help the plutocracy could possibly have is the only undemocratic portion of the American system that was designed constitutionally, and that is the judiciary. The judiciary can take any piece of law that the legislative branch passes and the executive branch affirms and say a corporation who now owns all these judges can now say, well, that law is unconstitutional and it then cannot be implemented. We already have gerrymandering that has made the country a country that's not ruled by most. California has probably 40 million people or more, however million they have. And some one of the Dakotas have a few 100,000. And both of them get 2 senators. Wow, that's a lot of power for a little bit of people. And now the Supreme Court is preeminent. The Supreme Court is undeniably the most powerful branch of the government, and a lot of people don't tell you that. They always talk about, oh, we have the checks and balances. There ain't no check against the Supreme Court unless we're going to then implement the difficult thing that's called impeachment. But constitutionally, you can only impeach judges with either 3/5 or 3/4. I don't remember the number, which means you have to have a hell of a supermajority in Congress to do what you have to do. So, folks, the way they intend to destroy the Roman intelligent middle class is to do the constitutionally undemocratic thing, and that is to use the courts. And then with that, I'm going to play, I think I have time for the price and video. And price and power, you always hear me talk about price and power, right? And that is, they want to maintain an economic system in such a manner that they can always screw you. And the insulin story that I'm going to play here is the ways, but I want to also tie it to the price and power, so check it out. Our system is designed so that you will never be able to accumulate wealth, because as soon as you're making it, it's taken away from you. And this is how it works, my brothers and sisters. The meme that my brother sent me said this: Humalog insulin, released in 1996, remains unchanged since its release, but its price increased 1,700% or more since then, from $21 a vial to $275 a vial. An average 1 year supply, that's 36 vials, has gone from $750 to $13,500 with zero changes to insulin. Gouging Americans for a life or death drug has consequences, as noted at MedBedge today. One witness at the hearing, Paul Grant of Gloucester, Maine, described the process he went through to get insulin for his 13-year-old son, who has had type 1 diabetes for 4 years. Grant noted that his employer doesn't provide health insurance, so he is paying for it himself through the Affordable Care Act's insurance marketplace, which is very expensive and very complicated. With his high deductible plan, Grant spent $2,500 on diabetes supplies for his son in 2017. He had been paying $300 for a 90-day supply of Humalog. That seemed like a lot until this past January, when I called to refill my son's Humalog prescription. It was going from $300 to $900 for a 90-day supply. I kind of went into a panic mode. He said he bought a 30-day supply at Walmart for $322 with a coupon until he could figure out a plan. Grant is now buying insulin from a Canadian pharmacy, which charges $295 for a 90-day supply, including shipping. For comparison, last week he looked up the price of a 90-day supply of Humalog at Express Scripts. It would cost him $1,500. Cory Booker, the guy everybody's loving right now as he's running as a Democrat, he voted to say Americans cannot go to Canada or any other country to bring the drugs in, even though they know the pharmaceuticals are terrorizing Americans with their pricing schemes. A recent survey found that 1 of 4 type 1 diabetics admitted to rationing insulin at least once due to cost in the past. Folks, this is what I call legalized murder. When there was no cost increase in product and you multiplied the price 1,700%, and in the process people have to go without and die, that is legalized murder. If I voluntarily cause your death, it is at least involuntary manslaughter. That's what pharmaceuticals are doing to Americans every day for patents they don't even own. This is the part of the blog I really want you to understand. That was a story of insulin. That was a story of companies being able to price the market. Here is what I want you to hear now. It is easy to understand why the increase in price of drugs has life or death consequences in the immediacy. What is not immediately apparent is how this mechanism, this economic system by design is intended to rob you blind. Insulin is an old medicine, over 100 years old. There is no patent on it. Worse, as noted in the article above, it was virtually placed in the public domain. Therefore, it should be one of the cheapest drugs on the market. There is a virtual monopoly in companies selling the product. They determine the price. The private sector determines how much they will force you to pay for a drug you must have. Pricing of any product in our economic system is based on a corrosive concept known as whatever the market will bear. Whatever the market will bear. And what will the market bear? Here's the thing, folks. Understand the concept of what the market will bear. All of your income plus your total credit worthiness. How much you can borrow. That is what the market will bear. In other words, we won't allow you to accumulate wealth. We will take whatever we can from you because we have pricing power. Sadly, the reality is that corporations whose fiduciary responsibility is to their shareholders and their huge undeserved salaries will keep raising prices until people are simply unable to afford what they are selling. If it is something they must have, Americans will spend up to their limit to get it. And what is their limit? All of their income plus all the credit they can get. All of your money, you cannot accumulate wealth. That is what our economic system does to you right now. The tenets of the current economic system are predicated on this behavior that effectively prevents us from saving. It makes us entities that are nothing but conduits of our income. The regular people's income used to create the increasing wealth of a few, those who determine prices, the plutocrats. You don't own a factory. All those that own the means of production, the private sector, the corporatocracy, they determine what the market will bear, and the market will always bear your total income plus your credit worthiness. Remember that, folks. It's by design that you cannot accumulate wealth. Anytime you talk about those stockholders and the stockbrokers, that's not for you. That is for the 10 to 20%. Yes, some of you have a little shares here and a little share there. Those are peanuts. They're there to take your wealth away. If you doubt me, look at your own bank account. In the past, when we made taxes very high on income after $1 million, there was no incentive for the legal robbery of the American people through predatory pricing because the ill-gotten gains were recycled back to we the people via taxes. People always say, well, why have 90% tax rates on your income? Well, what it does is the reason that person in corporate America can make hundreds of thousands of dollars is they have pricing power. And they price their products higher than needed so that money gets funneled right back to them. That high salary that they make is your money. Whenever a price goes up when the cost of the product doesn't, that is just a corporation saying, you know what? I want to make more money. I'm going to take it from you and give it to the shareholders. Remember, everything else stayed the same. Insulin didn't go up in price. They determined that they wanted more money for their shareholders and more profits for the executives. So what they did, they take the people who had zero pricing power and they took that money. Understand the concept of how this economy functions. It is designed the market will bear. Remember those words. As politicians on the take started reducing and eliminating taxes, the results are clear. Our colleges are more expensive than they should. Schools are underfunded. Our infrastructure is deteriorating. 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. But a few people get extremely wealthy, not on their worth or work. Not on their worth. Not on their work, but their manipulation of prices, the pricing power, the means of production in the private sector, the pricing power. When unregulated, the pricing power comes for your money. The pricing power takes your disposable income. The pricing power makes sure you cannot win. The pricing power means you will never, ever be able to develop wealth. And that is what I'm talking about. I did that one, I think, last year or earlier on with at KPFT 90.1. And that is what we have to realize. It's all a con. And what we've been indoctrinated into thinking this is the way the system is. This is the only way the system should be, when there are ways to mitigate sectors of capitalism that eats itself. There are ways to mitigate that. Anyhow, Beforehand, it's time for my little interlude here to go ahead and tell you guys, please become a member. If you are on YouTube right now, please go ahead and click that join button and become a member. We have a lot of perks in there. Just click on it, click join, become a member. If you become a member during the show, I will get a little flash and I'll be able to salute you like I did 3 people yesterday. So please consider hitting that join button. If you are on any other network, Facebook, Twitch, or Periscope, here is the link. The link is, I'm just putting it in the feed, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. If you're also listening to us on podcast, go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. You can also support us via Patreon. That is Patreon. It is politicsdoneright.com. Let's see, politicsdoneright.com/patron, Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/patron, Patreon. Of course, you can support us via PayPal as well. That is politicsdoneright.com/PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. By the way, you can get our book at the store as well. politicsdoneright.com/store. You can get our t-shirts, you can get our face mask, all that good stuff to help promote and move this show forward. Help us fund this show as we go. By the way, that book that you see there, it's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors. Here is the link for that. That's the Amazon link for that. But you can also get the book at our stores, and these are the books that you'll get at the store as well. How to lose weight and be fit now. You know, I've had my weight problems. I've solved them. This is the other book, which is As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And, of course, my new book, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Neighbors, your right-wing relatives, neighbors, and friends. Folks, everything that you put there goes to keep us running and keep this show going. Okay, let's go ahead and get to my good sister here. I love this woman. I used to see her every year at Netroots Nation 2000, and I think 2018 was the last time that I saw her, but she is great. Check it out, and we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. We have a very, very special guest for you today. Lizz Winstead is an American comedian, radio and television personality, and blogger. A native of Minnesota, Winstead is the co-creator of The Daily Show and served as head writer. And now she is the founder of Abortion Access Front. Lizz, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
I am so great. Thank you so much for having me, Egberto.
Absolutely. But before we get into one of the reasons you're here, because you're going to have a very special thing going on, I want to talk a little bit about what you think about the political climate that we're in right now. What are your thoughts? I want to kind of pick your brain. I remember in the old days, you used to be out there with us at Daily Coast, at the Netroots Nation, doing the morning show and keeping that place all revved up. How you doing? And what are your thoughts on the politics these days?
You know, I feel really excited and energized since 2018 and really watching how people reimagined the midterm elections. They understood what it meant. Watching Black and brown young folks get elected, young folks, you know, but like they are young. Everyone's younger than me, it feels.
Come on now, you're still young
lady.
I
am. I'm young at heart. But, you know, and just watching people demand more and demand excellence. And, you know, we live in a country that was, you know, the foundation is white supremacy and the notion of just sort of handing power to those who are assume they deserve it rather than have earned it. And to watch really interesting people challenge that notion and take no prisoners and demand not only a seat at the table, but demand that that table gets smashed and that a new table is built with the people and the voices that live in the world and in the country, makes me feel really hopeful. I live in Brooklyn and I live in Minneapolis. I split my time, and I live in Ilhan Omar's district. And it's very exciting to watch a woman like that, and also to watch a primary. It was interesting. This is just a little anecdote that I'll tell you that gives me a real hope, is that Ilhan, who is a daughter of Somali refugees, right, wins a congressional seat in an 85% white majority congressional district. She was challenged in her race by a moderate Black Democrat. And the conversations that happened around Ilhan and her opponent were just about what do you want for your district, right? Neither of them, there wasn't a race card played. It was like, we have two qualified people who come from backgrounds that are not of the standard white American traditional path, having conversations and debates about who's better for the district, right? And so that was a really cool thing to watch, and gives me hope that we can see more people debating ideas and more, and then hearing through those ideas a variance of experience of how people walk the earth. Like, that's great. So I feel really excited. I feel excited.
I am excited. I'm positive. I tell you what, sort of adding on to that, the thing about it is, as people live together, move around together and so forth, it's amazing that what you find is everybody realizes we put on our pants the same way, and the thing that the other side have to do, and when I talk about the other side, I'm talking about anybody that's trying to divide people, right? Is they have to find all these little avenues for division, because what people find out is, we like being together. We like, I'm from Panama. We like the salsa. The salsa is a whole bunch of different stuff, that is what we like.
Mhm.
And that the fight right now is to keep people from not doing that. That's why I love the work that you do, because as you are doing your work, you're making us smile. Hell, the creator of the Daily Show, come on, man.
Well, I think sometimes it's easy to break down, or it's easier to digest issues when you can lay out hypocrisy, use some humor. I often say, why did it take the Lincoln Project? People who are angry with the way that their party went, to have to point out hypocrisy in their own, they go so far, but like, why is it that humor is not used across the board when it comes to pointing out hypocrisy and where it comes from? Because it's where, when you especially talk about access to abortion care and abortion rights, the hypocrisy is so profoundly rich when it comes to saying that you are pro-life, and then when you drill down the lives that they ignore, whether that's the lives of Black and brown people being shot at the hands of police, whether that is, brown children being caged at the borders, whether that is, poor folks who are trying to get through coronavirus and not creating a plan for with which people can sustain, small business owners. Like, when it comes to, when you say you're pro-life, it seems to be the lives that you are pro are potential life in the womb, a fetus, and bazillionaires. if you're
Yeah.
not one of those things,
You're done.
your life is kind of not really considered.
That is sad. I mean, but you know what was happy, that Billy Graham's granddaughter, her name is Jerusha Duford, right? She came out and she said, for me, pro-life does not just mean life inside the womb. Duford replied, pro-life means different things as far as what we just talked about at the border, health, just like you mentioned before, healthcare, poverty, homelessness. All of these things show, for me, if you are going to be pro-life, this is what you've got to do. This is a woman in the evangelical movement considered a pro-lifer. And I hate that word pro-lifer. I
do
think
too. I don't use it.
progressives are the pro-life people, in my humble opinion.
I agree.
I agree. And what she was saying is that, evangelicals have got it all wrong, because they seem to worry about that they think about that, but they don't care much about people. Now, again, you formed, you're still doing your comedy, you're still doing all your good stuff, but you also formed this very important organization, Abortion Access Front.
Yes.
And I'm glad you just went ahead and named it with the word, because
Well, I think, yeah, you got to say the word, because if you don't, why don't you? I often say, why is it that people will say, oh, reproductive rights, and that's all fine. But when we talk about what people are trying to legislate, they're trying to legislate access to abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have shame around abortion. I've had an abortion. I feel like if we don't try to talk about it and really understand that if 1 in 4, people that can get pregnant have had abortions and will in their lifetime in their reproductive health, it's something that someone, you love someone, you have been encountered, you yourself may have also, had an abortion. And so if we don't talk about it and just return it back to its natural place, which is in a litany of reproductive choices that somebody might make in their lifetime, we're going to just end up being on the defensive. And I don't like using hot button language that's been given to me by somebody who is judgmental about abortion. I shouldn't be using that language because it often makes people who've had abortions and people who provide them feel othered. And I don't want the people who go to work every day, especially during a pandemic, providing this care for people, to ever feel like they're doing anything other than helping somebody with one of the myriad of obstacles that may be in their life, you know.
You know what is interesting, and over a period of time, my understanding has gotten so much better about it, not just being a progressive issue, but being an economic, a huge economic issue. It's not only about, it's not only about the procedures, not only about what women go through. The economic portion is that this thing that women don't have full control. And I'm a man, so forgive me if I don't come across as I should, but that somehow we should have command of what you can do with your body. And worse, in doing so, it can have a material effect on your personal economy. It just baffles the mind when you take a look at it from a very practical point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts?
Well, it's paternalistic, and it is also, I thought that America, or what America purports to do, is to say that every single person the government shouldn't get in any way of somebody's self-determination, right? That's up to you. Like the government should keep that path clear. And the clearest path towards your economic security and your self-determination is the assessment and decision that you can handle handle having a kid or not, right? And so to put any sort of roadblocks in front of that is saying that you don't know what's best for you, which is a really scary place to be, because it's saying that the government and other people should be able to control your decisions. And B, it's saying, we're really not a country that wants to make sure that your destiny is yours. We're really a country that decides that you can think about some things up to a point, but the government is going to impose all of these regulations to get in the way of what you think is best for you. And that's pretty terrifying, especially when you think about, like, there's not a single medical decision that is imposed upon people who can't have kids to stop them from having that procedure. Not a single one.
You know what is interesting? I don't remember who the politician was, who the congressperson was, but she asked the question, can you name me one procedure against, or one law against men that tries to control any part or use of their body?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this conservative just stayed blank,
Mm-hmm.
could not come up with an answer. And then you see what it's all about.
And then you see what it's all about. And for me, and that's the whole thing, is we framed it as a women's issue for so long, and we've sort of put the onus on women. And part of that is sort of, how did the language develop in this fight? And I think, when we were first really fighting, it was kind of like, men, you need to just shut up. Like, you don't need to weigh in. We don't need you. You've enough. But then I think that on some level, we should have done a reframe, saying we need everyone's support to understand that we all want to work for the full agency of women. Here's the role men can play. You can support, you can uplift, you can make sure the voices of those who are subjected to this are the people who are leading the way and leading the charge. And you can make demands saying, if full autonomy of every person means something to me, And so I will not cast a vote for somebody who is going to limit that for any citizen. So that is why I'm here supporting, right? So I think we need to get back to that kind of language so that men feel like they can be involved, and give them, super great ways to be involved so that everybody is fighting this fight.
I consider myself a complicit ally. So taking command from women to say, hey, this is what you've got to do. And one of the things that I had got to do is, as soon as I saw that you were having some special thing, said, let Liz come and take command of Politics Done Right and tell us what she is going to be doing on election day.
So this is pretty great in the scope of, everybody feeling very nervous about the lines and about what's happening. Abortion Access Front, a part of our work is we're made up of comics and musicians and artists and activists who, before the pandemic, we were traveling around the country doing big comedy and music shows, and then having conversations with the providers in the towns we were performing in and the activists, so that our audience could learn what's at stake for reproductive access in their state, and then they could join right there with the locals on the ground, right? And so we've traveled around the country for 5 years. So we have great comedians who travel with us. So the comedians who travel with us, we decided if people are going to have to stand in line for hours and hours and hours, we wanted to keep them there. And so at Abortion Access Front on our YouTube, it's at AA Front on Twitter, on Facebook, and then on Twitch with Comedy Hub, we're doing a 12-hour stand-up comedy marathon from noon Eastern until midnight, so that when you're standing in that line and you remember to bring your chair and your water and your snacks and maybe wear a diaper, I'm just saying, you want to just really be on it, and you're standing there,
Yes.
You can pull open your phone and you can watch some of the best comedians in our country just telling jokes from start to finish live as a support for you to just stay in there and vote.
Now, Liz, I'm going to post that on the after we air this. I'm going to also have a correspondent blog that will have all that information to try to bring folks and let people know about this, because you know what, they are going to be very well into. I don't know if you guys ever seen her perform, man. She's bad.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, it's really fun because we have like Alonzo Bowden from Whose Line Is It Anyway, and Jenny Yang and Baron Vaughn and Guy Branum, and the list is on and on and on of just
Erin Foley, Deanne Smith, Jessica Kirson.
I mean, people who have Netflix half-hour specials, people who are just like on series and have specials, and are actors and comedians in their own right. Greg Proops. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so it's just going to be a super fun way to just watch, because they're going to be giving shout outs to folks that are standing in line and just having a gas. So, you can go and all the information will be posted, I'm sure, on your website, so you can find it. But
absolutely. But let me ask you this. So are they going to run to selective cities and be in the line talking to people as well? Or are they going to be doing it at center location, or how are they going to do it?
So how we organized it was, it's, comics have been one of the hardest hit groups of people, musicians,
I know,
that perform, right? And so I feel especially honored that they're donating their time to be able to do this. So what it is people who have comics who have produced shows, usually in live venues from around the country. That show is going to be an internet show. Okay. So there's shows that are out of Atlanta, and shows that are out of LA, and shows that are out of New York, and shows that are out of Chicago, and all these different cities that produce these shows. So each one of these shows has taken an hour throughout the day.
Right.
And we have a graphic that gives the whole lineup, and it's all listed. And so it's you can see all the people who are performing. You can go in and out. And if you've already voted and you're sitting there biting your nails because you don't know what else to do with yourself, and you've eaten your weight in, Funyuns and ice cream, take a break and watch, and you can just watch for a minute and feel connected, because I think people need to feel connected on election day in a myriad of ways.
Yeah, I think they need to feel connected. But the other thing I think your comedy is going to bring them some levity. I think it's going to make them kind of pacify them also. But my show, what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell people, don't freeze. When I say don't freeze, I mean don't sit down there and panic. We've got this. We just have to execute it. We've got this. We just
That's
have to
right.
execute, and having folks like you making it easier for people, I think that is just wonderful that we can actually go out there and do what we've got to do, you
Well,
know?
and I think it's great for folks to really tap into to like, what is it that I have to offer? And I think I can gather all these really cool people and do this show. Other people are like, well, maybe don't have the mobility, but I can like, bake something and bring it down, or I can just, cheer people on. It's kind of like, I look at it like a marathon and all the different ways that people support marathon runners.
Hmm.
There's people that give them the water. There's like bands that are set up in all these little spaces. And I think I wish that we could, if it wasn't coronavirus, I guarantee you we would have done a live
Right.
out there in the swing states situation. But there's so many things involved with what's happening now in travel and everything that, some communities just don't have like full on comedy communities that they can
Right.
tap into. But the ones that do have really stepped up. So
But
yeah.
not only that, I mean, I think in the way that you're doing it, you're showing the responsibility that we hope more people would show, and if more people showed that responsibility, we wouldn't be in this crazy state that we're in right now. I mean, because I mean, it's just horrendous, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just horrendous. But anyway, is there anything that you want to add to before anything that I hadn't asked you that you want to say? Egberto, why the hell didn't you ask me this?
No, I think that it was really fun. I just think that, the one thing I just want to say is no matter what happens in this election, we have work to do. And if you're somebody who cares about reproductive health rights and justice, and you're looking at this election and whatever way it goes, Abortion Access Front has an incredible volunteer program and all these programs that are in place that people can sign up and help, because there's things that we need to do on a local level that are really important, because if we have a Supreme Court and lower courts that are full of people who have been installed in a way that are not looking out for the civil liberties of people like you and I, we have to make sure that we work really hard to make sure we don't elect politicians on a state and local level that are going to put laws in place that are going to really affect the way we live, the way we vote, the way we breathe, and the way we, access our businesses. So, yeah.
Liz, you just brought up a very important piece of information. Now, you do a lot of funnies, but that you just gave something, and I think that is most important. Let's say that Roe versus Wade gets overturned for some reason. The fact that you build infrastructure in states, it then becomes a states' rights issue.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
Mm-hmm.
force your local politicians to do exactly what the federal government was doing before. So thank you for I mean, I think it's important for people to understand that because it's no longer national, they have not lost their power.
That's right. And I think that is, and it's easier to change hearts and minds, when you are face to face in your community, when you're with your neighbors and with your family and you're talking, and those are the things that, like, that's how it works. Storytelling and all of that stuff is really important. And so state and local politics is where all this happened. You're in Texas, what happened all the way to the Supreme Court and when all those horrible laws happened and Wendy Davis stood on that floor.
Yes.
Barack Obama was our president. That was
Yes.
and what happened in Texas, what a lot of people don't know, 26 other states passed that exact same law. And it was just like people were unprepared, right? And so just watching that stuff is what we really need to look out to see and do. So you have the power in your hands at home. Let's really strengthen our communities so that we don't go through a court system that has been stacked against us.
Lizz Winstead, the co-creator of The Daily Show and the founder of Abortion Access Rights. Thank you so kindly for having been
Thank you
on
so much for
Politics Done
having me.
Right.
Hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely, anytime. You take care, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed talking to Liz. I hadn't seen her in a year or so. Actually, I think it's more like a couple years because things have been crazy with coronavirus this year. Yeah. Anyhow, folks, we are coming close to the end of the program. Let me run through and salute all my great people here. Bridge MCP, welcome aboard. Jacoby G, ¿cómo estás, hermano? Welcome aboard. Tank 28, creating trouble as usual, but welcome aboard. Let's see who else is here. Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. Michael, I see. Let me go to the top because I don't think I saluted. So they want to go through and drill through your sinuses and scrape it. That's going to be fun. Well, at least, you know, yeah, that's going to be fun. I've known people who've done that before. All right, Bridge MCCP, Politics and Right. Watched it last night. Documentary changed your mind on getting rid of Electoral College. Safeguard. Let's see. I'll check that out. I'll check that out. I hope, yeah, I'll check that out. But I'll see what it has to say. Let's see. Bruce Pollard, welcome aboard. Tank 20, I got you already. Daniel Lado, welcome aboard. Daniel says early indicators are looking great for Trump. Ha 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 ha. I love that. Talking about alternate state of reality. Let's continue. Missing some. Nanette Bird Smith. Vote. I'm with you, Nanette. I'm with you. Bruce Pollard. I don't interpret Fox as having Mr. Trump ahead. And Donald and Bruce gave us that link. Thank you, Bruce. That link was pretty informational. Let's see who else is here. I'm scrolling down. My eyes are hurting. Doug Dillinger, welcome aboard. Lee Grant, welcome aboard. Lee says we need to address the Biden-China axis. Okay, guys, you know, please, NBC went ahead and found out where the story came from. Suggest that you read that and look at the corroborated information on that fraud that you guys have been trying to put out there. You know why it didn't stick? Because we didn't fall for the crap that the right always do to create false stories. We didn't fall for it this time. Our news media, or rather I should say the mainstream media, for once didn't allow the right-wing lying machine to bring them on board. Thank you for doing that, my dear mainstream media, for a change. Okay, continuing to look for my new people. All right, let's see. I don't see. Let's see. Blair Hafley, welcome aboard. And I'm scrolling down. If I miss you, just throw me an extra email or a masticator. Welcome aboard. Let's see who else is here. I'll read the notes afterwards. I got Jacoby G already. If I miss you, just drop it at the end of the message line, and I'll then see you. I don't see anybody else, so forgive me if I missed you. Bridge MCP, nope, should have thought of that before. All the onus is on the woman. Let's see. Daniel says, Bridge, so you think men should have equal power to decide the fate of unborn children? Hell no. Men don't have to carry children. Women do. If you had to carry a child and your body and all your structures were dependent on, then you could have a say. But hell no, you don't have a say on any woman's body. Hell no. No, absolutely not. When you decide, look, but there are ways around it, right? We've created a whole lot of stuff around this country, a lot of stuff. So since science is so great, and we've loved to engineer food and engineer all these other things that we want to sell to people and to make it easier for corporations to create food, let's start engineering men having the possibility of having the kids instead. And then, so if you want to have control of a body who is procreating, we can actually have with science, allow men to carry kids. And then they can sit down in the home and say, okay, John, are you going to bear the kid or I am going to bear the kid? Okay, John, since we now have the technology, and I don't want anybody to tell me that's not natural because the food you're eating is not natural. I don't want anybody to tell me that's ungodly because if God allows you to do these things, as long as it's not killing some born human being, it is okay. So whenever science goes ahead, you know, we can convert bodies, we can do all these things. You know, if the bearer of children were men who were in control, I bet by now both sexes would be able to have kids. We would have engineered it. You know, we would have engineered it. But anyhow, that's my spirit. And by the way, let me just be frank with everybody. I came from Central America. I have all the cultural diseases necessary to have been a chauvinist. But you know what? I opened my mind to learn, and in doing so, I've been taught and corrected. Anyhow, folks, please don't forget to, if you're on YouTube, please click that join button and become a member. Let's grow this movement. Just click that join button, become a member. Please consider getting my book. That helps fund what we are doing. So let me go ahead and give you the link to my book on Amazon. That's a link on Amazon, or you can simply get the book at our store, which is at politicsdoneright.com/com. politicsdoneright.com/store, politicsdoneright.com/store. And don't forget to support our Patreon. That is politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.